This video will contain content that may disturb some viewers, including discussion of tragedies of all shapes and sizes. If that does not sound appealing to you, then please turn back now. Additionally, please do not attack or harass any of the people mentioned in this video. It has been created for edutainment purposes, not for the purpose of riling up a mob to harass others. Thank you.
So whatever they do to me, I'm a man. I'm not sitting up here like I'm the biggest badass around, but you punch me, I'm gonna punch back. And I can sit back and tell you my family name is secure, and I've done the job I'm supposed to do. It's not some power trip, it's just who I am. I look at Stephanopoulos and all these sacks of shit, sitting there telling us they're gonna leave the country. Listen, you son of a bitch, you're scared this country's gonna throw your carpet-bagging ass out. I see you, you little bloodthirsty maggot. Whatever happens to me, I just pray to God you get brought real low for what you've done, you little son of a bitch. So you understand one thing, there's a real world out there, there's a real God, there's a real devil. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I want all the little men to know something. You were brought up as pieces of shit. And you thought you could dominate everybody because you were so insecure. And you thought people that were better than you were bad because they were better than you, and they were building a stairway to heaven for you. And so now you've started fights with people that are going to break every bone in your body. So when you metaphysically have had your sternum broken and your ribs broken and your little neck strung up, you remember that you ran into real men and we kicked your ass. Now I'm done till tomorrow. I'm going to turn it over to Darren McBreen and Owen Schroyer. But make no mistake, this is real. This is the Infowar. Oh, God help us. They're never going to stop. They're going to put drugs in the food and water more intense when we barely can resist. I mean, it's just so evil. Everybody's going to be dying of cancer all around us, just with potbelly pedophiles hopping around like it's a Super Mario Brothers, grabbing our children, giggling, bouncing onto the necks with SWAT teams defending them as they just pick which kids they want. And as giant third world hordes just pour in, raping everyone, just sexualizing our children, ruling everything, debasing the currency, drugging the food and water, giving everyone cancer, and just dancing to their god of death, selling body parts, chopping up babies, the battle of the scalpel. I mean, it's just on. Hell on earth, the gates are opening, and out will flood the armies. And by the way, I like Ted Anderson and JCM. I mean, those other shows on there, they think they're all in competition with me and all this crap. I'm not in competition with any of you people. I'm in competition with the devil. I'm in a death battle. And now you see the enemy say they're in a death battle. They know they're in a death battle. Only the spirit of knowing you're in a death battle will have you win. I don't know how all this is going to end, but like I told them 1,000 times, you want to fight? Better believe you've got one. You want to enslave my spirit? No! And I'll call on God to protect me and use me however God sees fit. And if I'm destroyed, my whole family with it, I don't blame God. I blame the stinking trash who will pay. Now, and the devil that deceived them was cast in the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Tormented by their own spirit.
Alrighty, so where do we even begin with this one?
Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded. In that...
At this point, everyone watching this video knows who Alex Jones is. The man is one of the most infamous people in the nation. Hell, even the normie chicks in my English class who spend all of their time on TikTok know who Alex Jones is.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
I don't like gay people. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
He has become extremely infamous due to a variety of scandals and tomfoolery that he has been involved in, frequently exhibiting behavior that the general public would either deem disgusting or ridiculous. He is basically a household name at this point, being written about in every major news publication, reported on by every major TV news network, and of course he's been discussed at some point by basically every YouTube goober and their dog.
So,
Alex Jones, funniest moments. Now, I don't know. I've only watched this dude in one video. I've only seen him in one video, and I thought this dude was funny. So,
Shut the fuck up!
Not to mention that he has become a mainstay of meme culture over the past 5 years or so, consistently being featured for some of his more outlandish behavior.
Come on over here! Come on over here! No, you're looking up! Come on, coward! No! Come on! You're not an intellectual! You're a fake and a fraud!
Most know him as a far-right conspiracy theorist who says that 9/11 was an inside job, and most infamously believes that the events at Sandy Hook Elementary were staged. The man has been involved in a never-ending stream of controversies for the entirety of his career, by the very nature of his existence, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Most people mock Alex, and while he does have a dedicated following via his website, Infowar, to many he is more or less a laughingstock, simply known as the man who screams about gay frogs and pushes insane conspiracy theories in an insensitive and horrible way. Not many people outside of a few fringe communities respect Alex or almost anything that he has to say. It's easy to simply hear about something outrageous that someone has done, point, laugh, and carry on with your day. It's easy to cast judgment about celebrities and personalities because they're disembodied, distant people that we only see through a lens. And this lens tends to distort reality, changing what we see into some warped version of the truth. In this documentary, I aim to take a different look at Alex than most, and more or less try to understand him.
You get in my face with that, I'll beat your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch! You piece of shit! You fucking goddamn fucker! Listen, fuckhead! You have fucking crossed the line!
There's a lot of different contexts and different avenues that we're going to have to explore to truly tell the story of Mr. Jones here. But first, a message from today's sponsor. Okay, wait, no, it's not Raid Shadow Legends, I promise. It's something good, okay? Please, don't hurt. Today's episode of the Chicken Chad Show is brought to you by Raycon. I've actually got my Raycons in my head right now at the present moment. I've never had a nice pair of wireless headphones, and I'm pleased to say that they work really well for editing, listening to music, and watching videos. The actual audio quality is just as good as all of the other premium headphones brands that are on the market, and they start at half the price. Instead of giving your money to the hacks at Apple and Samsung, why not give your money to Ray J? Kinda based, not gonna lie. Their newest model, the E25, is their best yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. It also comes in fun, new colors. Click the link in the description to get 15% off your order of Raycons with code TURKEYTOM. A huge thanks to Raycon for funding me today, as without them, I would be making basically nothing off of this video, because YouTube loves not paying me. I love you, Susan. Now back to the video. Diving down the Alex Jones rabbit hole, you tend to find yourself feeling a little overwhelmed. It goes so deep and has so many winding passages. Getting lost in the catacombs is just inevitable. And it's not always super easy to climb your way out.
Please, God, please protect us from the New World Order! Please protect the children, oh God!
Pulling all of the strings of the spiderweb together is hard, and it's easily made this video one of the hardest for me to make. But I think the best way to paint an accurate picture of who the man is would be to go back to his humble beginnings. Our story begins with the birth of our hero, as stories often do. On February 11th, 1974, Alex Emmerich Jones was born in Dallas, Texas. He grew up in an upper-middle-class household, according to most sources, with his father, David Jones, being a dentist, and his mother, Carol, staying at home. This approach to a traditional family life that Alex experienced as a young boy is one that he continues to promote on his show, often calling himself a paleo-conservative. It seems he was a relatively active member of the school community, having actually been a lineman on his high school football team. But more importantly than any of that is one particular formative experience that he has remarked on a few times about a book that he read in high school. None Dare Call It Conspiracy was written by Gary Allen and released in 1971. As the name implies, it addresses a number of conspiracies and theories and aims to outline the existence of a new world order. This book is a primer for anyone who wishes to understand the basic workings of the global network of insiders that is determined to wield power over all of mankind in the coming new world order. The story you're about to read is true. This book may have the effect of changing your life. After reading this book, you will never look at national and world events in the same way again. None Dare Call It Conspiracy will be a very controversial book. At first, it will receive little publicity, and those whose plans are exposed in it will try to kill it by the silent treatment. Eventually, it will be necessary for the people and organizations named in this book to try to blunt its effect by attacking it or the author. They have a tremendous vested interest in keeping you from discovering what they are doing, and they have the big guns of the mass media at their disposal to fire the barrages at None Dare Call It Conspiracy. They will ignore the fact that the author about to conjecture. They will ignore the fact that the author about to conjecture. They will find a typographical error or argue some point that is open to debate. If necessary, they will lie in order to protect themselves by smearing this book. I believe those who poo-poo the information herein, because psychologically many people would prefer to believe we are, because we all like to ignore bad news. Why are these things written so weirdly? We do so at our own peril. Based on the description here, it's obvious that we are in somewhat deep conspiracy theory territory. This isn't your average Shane Dawson video where he tries to get you to buy an Illuminati pop socket.
And speaking of subliminal messages, I have new merch. Illuminati sweatshirts with my name on it, and of course my Illuminati pop socket. If you guys want to check it out, go to amazon.com/Shane Dawson. It's Prime, so you'll get it in just a couple days.
Things are a little more real this time around. The reviews for the book mostly cite it as a good primer for those who are dipping their toes into the conspiracy theory world, and many see it as a good explanation of how the New World Order works. I could go on and on about the New World Order and the various theories behind it. It's mostly a story for another day. However, for the purposes of this documentary, the New World Order is essentially a proposed hidden totalitarian government that controls the world from the shadows, using the commoners as pawns in their game to establish one massive government that controls all of humanity, as well as to profit economically off of the ignorance of the unaware. Much of the theory behind this was also outlined in a documentary titled New World Order, which talked about the growing underground anti-globalist movement at the time, with Alex Jones being featured as one of the prominent heads of the movement. By the time of its release in 2009, Alex was already relatively well known in the media world and by the American public, with Google Trends data showing relatively steady growth and relevancy from 2004 until around the end of 2012, with a notable spike in January of 2013. But more on that later. After high school, Alex attended Austin Community College in Austin, Texas, but dropped out after just one semester. Clearly having developed some strong opinions on globalists and the cabal of transnational elites that rule the world, and as such he took to public access television, beginning to broadcast his opinions through the public access TV stations that were available in Austin. The basic idea of the ACA-TV broadcasting program was to let anyone with an idea for a show just do it, and that's exactly what Alex did. One of the most infamous clips from his public access days that has resurfaced is of him during Halloween 1997, when he discusses the Austin Police Department as well as black helicopters while carving up a nice Halloween pumpkin.
With infrared, if you have enough of a heat source in your house, it'll pick up the heat source and show a signature. It's called flare. It's infrared or heat signature, and we didn't play all of the cut from the Lear News Hour, but it says yes, black helicopters are being used for surveillance of the public by sheriff's departments and police departments around the country.
The show was essentially a live radio broadcast, and he would talk about his opinions on a variety of subjects and bring information that he thought was important to his viewers, as well as allow them to call into his show to discuss all these topics with him and ask some questions of their own. Another clip I was able to find from his television days was titled Global Love Cop, where Alex wears a ski mask and talks to a caller about giving up rights in what appears to be a lampoon of agents working for the New World Order.
They know how to run the world. They're nice. I work for them. They pay me $55 grand a year, and I can make money off asset seizures, just like Roman centurions. I like it.
Definitely an interesting clip, to say the least. Continuing his time on public access, he hosted a show titled The Final Edition on public radio in Austin, from which he was actually kicked off by public access management. In an article from the Austin Chronicle, his boot from the station in 1999 was described, as well as some of the reasons for his local infamy at the time. The libertarian Jones made a name for himself a couple of years ago, with his programs on access television, speechifying about and presenting video of what he says are violations of our freedoms and the stepping up of martial law in our country. He eventually landed on KJFK, still something of a fledgling in Austin's talk radio scene. According to the article, Alex actually won the Best of Austin poll for radio in 1999. Keep in mind this was at a time when newspapers were much more prominent, and it wasn't just boomers that were spending their time reading them. There, he drew even more attention, especially in championing the cause of the Branch Davidians and his insistence that they had not committed suicide in the Waco debacle, but had been attacked by government agents. I actually managed to find a recording from around the time of Alex talking about being kicked off of the radio.
I mean, look, 4 years is a good run.
Sure is.
Plus, I mean, as soon as I got to be number one with that it's an 18,000 watt crap station.
Yeah.
Outside Austin. I took that thing and I made it #1 in my
You
time
made
slot.
it #1 in your time slot.
Yeah, I even had to admit it in the paper, you know. So it was political.
Oh,
My
yeah.
show was sold out advertising-wise. It was just lies, you know.
Well, you figure they are a New World Order station, aren't they? Who owns them?
Well, they really know they're small. Only 30 newspapers and about 16 radio stations. That's
small in today's markets.
That's small in the conglomerates. 50 years ago, that would have been large.
Kicked off of public access completely, Jones decided to take to the emerging media frontier known as the World Wide Web. He had been censored once already, but he wasn't willing to let that get him down. He had a message, a voice, an opinion, and he wasn't going to let anyone stop him. And so in 1999, Infowars.com was born. Alex began broadcasting his radio show from the comfort of his own home, discussing his views on subjects like the September 11th World Trade Center attacks, the Oklahoma City bombings, and the presidential elections of George Bush and Barack Obama. Obviously, over the course of a decade, Alex has said and done a lot, promoting everything from the idea that Obama wasn't born in the United States to saying some rather insensitive things about the victims of tragedies. Media coverage about him has been consistent as his popularity has increased, and he has gained more notoriety as a public figure, with many seeking to paint him as a madman who rambles to an audience of low IQ sheep. Regardless of the public perception of Alex and his fans, his website continued to gain traction, with his fan base growing slowly but surely. Over this time, a number of classics were released by Alex and his staff, including a few feature-length films. You can find a few of these in full length on YouTube, such as the 1999 film, Are You Practicing Communism?
Take your globalist agenda and your New World Order plans, and you can take my gun from my cold dead hands.
Another shorter feature, which sits at just over an hour in length, features Alex documenting Klan members in Waco, Texas, and screaming at them with a megaphone in typical Alex Jones fashion.
You work for the federal government Klan, and you know you do. You work for the federal government Klan, and you know you do.
Early recordings of broadcasts of Infowars shows them being extremely rudimentary, with poor production quality and pretty low quality microphones. But you can see him planting the seeds of the shows that would come to define him. His general energy and mannerisms are still there, his fast-paced talking and strange methods of parodying others are just as present as ever. Not to mention his style of guerrilla reporting to raise awareness for a political cause was still a staple of his content.
I can see why the city really wants to get its hands on this property like they've done countless others.
Make a parking lot out of it, perhaps.
Oh yeah, or get some rent from a good liberal lawyer or something.
Yeah.
You can find a number of clips from around this time if you dig deep enough, including this clip from 1997 of Alex giving a speech about what he sees as the globalist agenda and how an uprising needs to happen.
And they have nurtured this idea that their power has declined. I assure you, it has only increased, because well-managed power, if it's ruthless, will only continue to enlarge itself at the expense of the masses of people. And I want to say to people out there who are watching this on television, because this will re-air, don't you make any exceptions to what we're saying. What we're saying is facts. And if you want to stick your head in the sand, that's just fine. But I say to you, this is world history. And the sad part is that slaves out there, people that never consciously face up to their destiny to be a real human being with a real spirit, you will never even know you were slaves, and I guess that's your final victory.
He continued making these broadcasts to spread his image with the Infowars brand, including the 2003 movie, The Matrix of Evil, which outlines the existence of the Illuminati, the 13 families, and who Alex believes is in control of the banks and the media. By 2008, the Infowars format of Alex sitting behind a desk with a microphone and some TV screens behind him had been established, with pretty good production quality and a loosely structured format. Via the Infowars website, as well as YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and more than 100 radio stations, Alex was able to spread his message to his fans and garner an audience, only bolstered by the elections in 2008 and 2012, with Alex believing that presidential candidate and eventually president of the United States, Barack Obama, was not actually born in the United States.
I refuse to go along with this, and I'm seeing through all of your lies, Barack Obama, you wicked, wicked devil!
These claims have remained unproven thus far. He also continued his tactics of real-life exposures, such as a 2005 video where he infiltrated the Bohemian Club, a private social club of male intellectuals that Alex speculated was actually involved in some kind of satanic worship. During the video, he poses as a member of the club and films some supposedly occult activity, complete with dark, otherworldly chanting, men in cloaks, and a corpse sacrifice.
Entering the gorge by stealth and getting into the main parking area. From there, we posed as Bohemian Club members. thus entering the inner sanctums of the New World Order.
Seeking happiness, return to one alone, and she surrounds you now. Great nature.
It's worth noting that during his rise to prominence during this nearly 10-year stretch, Alex was able to make some pretty important friends. While the mainstream media either ignored him or discredited him, people who were gathering an online audience via the growing podcast format were starting to take notice, including someone who would become the face of the podcast format over the next few years.
Manufacturing anything, including growing marijuana, is a, quote, weapon of mass destruction because it, quote, hurts masses of people who can be executed.
Joe has served as more or less a mediator between Alex and some of the less unhinged members of the internet community, often saying that he feels that Alex is misunderstood and manages to actually get a lot right. Oftentimes, when Alex will join Joe on his show, Joe will have to interrupt Alex's ramblings and try to make a coherent point out of what he's saying, defending him from the media and the accusation that Alex is far right.
People that don't know like how you got started. But one of the things I thought was really bizarre in that thing was that lady was calling you a right-wing host, a far right-wing host.
No.
You've never been a right-wing guy, and it's a big misconception. Like, you were always totally anti-Bush. You got arrested speaking
twice, actually,
before Bush was even elected.
Yeah.
You were trying to stop him from being elected back when Clinton was in office.
And then when he stole the election from Gore, who I didn't even really like, I still came out and exposed it, and it's now been certified in Congress, and they've documented it. I just go with what the facts are.
From time to time, this friendship is called into question, but it is noteworthy in showing that Alex isn't connectionless. You don't get as big as he is without knowing a few people.
He's right about things, man. I've known the guy forever, and he's absolutely a madman.
You didn't talk to him for a minute, right?
I mean, he exposed a lot of things. Yeah. You know, that a lot of people were like, no fucking way. And then he actually shouted it.
Many media outlets have even called him the king of alternative media, or the cancer of it, depending on who you ask. His relationship with the mainstream has always been somewhat strenuous, with very few news organizations reporting on him positively.
Right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, America's most notorious conspiracy theorist.
These are exciting times for Roger Stone, Alex Jones, the alt-right, and others who might normally be relegated to the fringes of American politics.
Radio host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Infowars.com.
This is the man who wants to deport me from the country for wanting to get rid of
it's
assault
to
rifles,
point out you're a foreigner, a red coat, here telling us what to do.
Whatever.
Go back to where they took the guns if you don't like it. The communist...
Well, apart from RT, a news station that is run by the Russian government, which seems to love having Alex on their show.
Alex Jones, welcome. It is good to be here with you, Max.
I was able to find hundreds of clips of RT America either reporting on Alex in a positive light or giving him an opportunity to speak on whatever issue is relevant at the time. This is likely because RT is a very anti-Western attitudes channel. They're not huge fans of the United States.
Now America has marked a year since it elected Barack Obama. What promises of change have actually materialized?
From the day he was elected, before he even took office, we knew because of his advisors, being people from the Clinton and Bush administration before him, that he was going to break all his promises. But he's gone back on his word in our history, even worse than we thought he would.
As such, it makes sense to me that they would have Alex on their show, but I have a feeling that their motivations behind treating him favorably are less about wanting to tell the truth about the American government, much more about taking anything negative, whether it be a rumor or not, and platforming it to the public to paint the US in a bad light. Possible theories about the Russian government aside, one of the biggest questions that I see asked a lot about Alex is, how does he make his money? Taking a visit to the Infowars website, there aren't any promotions for Honey or Raid, Shadow Legends. The usual website banner ads simply aren't there. However, scrolling through basically any part of the page will show you advertisements for something else.
Here comes the money.
According to most sources, the way that Alex rakes in all of his money is from selling a variety of supplements, all of which can only be purchased on the Infowars website itself. Scrolling through the Infowars Life tab, you can choose from a pretty large selection of products. This includes, but is not limited to, fluoride-free bubblegum toothpaste, Change Your Life Trifecta Pack, DNA Force Plus, Ultimate Bone Broth, Alpha Power, the real red pill, Survival Shield, bundles of those products in basically every quantity imaginable. To be completely honest, I'm pretty doubtful about the legitimacy of these products. Things like fish oil tend to come across as more or less a scam to me, and according to the internet community, or whatever you want to call these losers, a lot of what they sell has basically no effect.
But I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to support Alex Jones in the future, and I'm never drinking this again.
1 month on Biopack didn't do anything to affect my hairline, nor did I experience any increase in strength, energy, or sexual appetite that would be associated with higher testosterone levels from the super male vitality. When I looked into the raw ingredients of what I was paying for, I paid a markup value 3 times what these products are actually worth.
One of the weird things about these foods is that none of them have been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Because obviously, if they were, then they'd put fluoride and chemicals in them that turn you into a fat. The reason why these seem to sell so well is because of the brand that Alex has developed over time and promoted. One where you can't trust the government, you can't trust liberals, you can't trust the banks, and of course you can't trust the media. And I see no issue with not trusting the mainstream. Skepticism is always a worthwhile endeavor. But I think that constantly existing in a mindset like that will make you an extremely unhealthy individual. Not to mention, I think that always buying into these mentalities will make you very susceptible to buying his products. That being said, perhaps there is a point to be made about all of the people that review these products looking like the embodiment of soy. Alex may actually believe that these products will work for him. He may think that they don't work and be promoting them anyway. He may not know whether or not they work and just sort of show them on a whim. Unfortunately, we have no way of knowing.
Thank you, Alex. I will now take 2 droppers to test this ultimate male vitality formula.
Oh my God! What the hell? Wait! Get out of here! Shut this down. This is not safe.
Taking a look at some more reviews for his stuff, I noticed more of a mixed bag. While every major news outlet that I could find talking about his products reported on it in a negative light, sometimes implying or directly calling him a scammer, and at other times being as dramatic as to call his business a snake oil empire.
Don't pay for the supplements.
On YouTube, there are hundreds of reviews posted by people who aren't affiliated with media outlets, and there I was able to find some diversity with the opinions. The general consensus that I got from watching a few of these reviews was that all of Alex's products are safe. Some of them, like Knockout, seem to work pretty effectively, but a lot of them are also just products that you could basically buy elsewhere for cheaper and with a higher concentration of the advertised ingredient.
Something's wrong with him. Help him, ladies and gentlemen. We did not intend for that to happen. I take it personally. Do not have those problems.
What I can't say with confidence is that I won't be buying his stuff anytime soon. Now, I'm sure that you remember that large increase in relevancy around January of 2013, which I mentioned very specifically for a reason. During this time, Alex would be introduced to a large portion of the American public by a series of reports by the media due to his comments about something that had happened the month prior.
Right here in Newtown, Connecticut, the site today of a mass shooting, and this time gunfire aimed at elementary school children. We're here in front of the Newtown United Methodist Church, where we've watched people gathering all evening long, as tonight the details are still pouring in. There are 27 victims, 20 children, 7 adults.
The bodies of those children are still in the school. 18 children died in the school, were dead on the scene. 2 more were taken to the hospital and died there. And those 6 adults also who died at the school, their bodies are still there.
Newtown 911, what's the location of the emergency?
Sandy Hook School. I think there's somebody shooting in here. Sandy Hook School.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Because somebody's got a gun. I saw a glimpse of somebody. They're running down the hallway.
Okay.
But they're still running. They're still shooting. Sandy Hook School, please.
I believe they're shooting at the front glass. Something's going on. Still going on. I can't get over there. Okay, I don't want you to go over there.
He fired 154 shots in 2, not as some originally reported, 3 Newtown classrooms.
Mere words cannot match the depths of your sorrow, nor can they heal your wounded hearts. You're not alone in your grief.
On December 14th, 2012, 20-year-old Adam Lanza walks into Sandy Hook Elementary School, armed with an AR-15 rifle. He shot through the glass panes in the front door to get into the building, at which time the morning announcements were being given over the school intercom. Many heard the gunfire over the announcements as Lanza shot his way through the front office, slaying both the school principal and the school psychologist. Of the students that heard the gunfire on the intercom, 20 would die. In the following weeks and months, media coverage continued on the tragedy, and it felt like the entire nation was in mourning. The idea that 20 innocent first graders had their lives taken from them and their families, their futures stolen, it's hard to stomach, to say the least. I live in New England, and I remember being in school around the time that the shooting occurred. National coverage of the situation soon began, and it had become one of the most infamous shootings in the United States, if not the world. In the following days, police officers armed with rifles and shotguns would be roaming the halls and stationing themselves outside, worried that someone else would be inspired by Lanza's actions. While it's easy to point out how small in scale Sandy Hook was in proportion to the country's total population, its effects have been undeniable. Before Lanza left for school that morning, he used his rifle to kill his mother, Nancy, in their home. After the rampage at the school, Adam used his handgun to take his own life. 27 innocent people were gone less than 2 weeks before Christmas. The shooting also gave major momentum to the gun control movement, raising questions of background checks in high-capacity magazines and whether or not they should be allowed. And as expected, Mr. Jones was on the case. In the weeks following the tragedy, Alex reported on a number of what he saw as anomalies from the incident. At one point, he even said that he felt that the shooting was an outright hoax created by the government and that all of the parents were actors.
But it took me about a year with Sandy Hook to come to grips with the fact that the whole thing was fake. Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured.
The optics on Alex's part were terrible, and I think that most people would agree that his conduct here was less than stellar, especially just days and weeks after it happened and people were in mourning. I understand that Alex believed that these people were acting, but I still think that exercising a little sympathy would have gone a very long way. His comments on the situation have reportedly caused harassment towards many of the families of the victims from Alex's fans, and multiple lawsuits have been filed against Alex in the years following the situation. It also allowed the media to report on what he said and basically draw his reputation into the ground for it. Not that people's perception of him was really that great to begin with. And while I agree that what Alex did was wrong, I feel like he gets too much shit for it. He's apologized repeatedly, he clearly has at least tried to make amends, and I don't think that he deserves to have this incident be his legacy. The Sandy Hook situation is what most know Alex for, and it's what they instantly bring up to discredit him, or simply to explain who he is to others. But I think that looking over his entire career, using that incident to entirely represent him is rather disingenuous. Initially, Alex's lawyer claimed that he was simply acting hyperbolically and playing a character, but according to Alex, he was enduring some kind of psychosis at the time because of the media constantly reporting on him, so he felt like everything was a lie. Whether or not this is true, I can't say. You'll just have to take Alex's word for it, really.
But I kind of realized a few years ago that I kind of had my own mild psychosis, in that when you've been lied to by the media and the culture so much over and over again, everything then starts becoming automatically, you're sure it's fake, and then everything you see fits into that. I never said go investigate these families.
Did you ever say that you think it's not real?
Yes, I did.
But now you do think it's real?
Because I learned some of the anomalies were not accurate.
As I've shown in this video, Alex has had a pretty long career in journalism and being a TV personality, stretching more than 2 decades. Using one incident in which he made a mistake, for which he has repeatedly apologized and tried to fix what he did wrong, seems very slimy to me, and I'm not willing to write off everything that Alex does because of a character flaw that he has, being that he has trouble articulating himself and is clearly very obsessive. This isn't to say that what he did was okay or to admonish him completely. It still happened and we should remember it. But citing him as the guy who said Sandy Hook was fake comes across like a lie to me, simply pushing the most negative event from his career to the forefront rather than explaining his life as a whole. Joe Rogan's podcast episodes with Alex have helped change public opinion a lot on this subject, no doubt supplemented by the ridiculous amount of views that the episodes with Alex get. But to a large portion of the American public, Alex is still the crazed conspiracy theorist who says the tragedies didn't happen.
I never sent anybody to the houses, but I apologize if it was taken out of context. People have a right to question, but I'm sorry for the families, and I'm sorry for your hurt, and I get it, and I've experienced crazy people now, big time, just like you have. Please stop saying that I'm saying it didn't happen. Please stop saying I'm sending people to people's houses, because here's what happens. When they put it on every major TV channel, local TV channels, radio, I mean, thousands of articles that then get syndicated. If I said 100,000 articles, that's a low number. The amount of Sandy Hook coverage against me has been so insane and so huge because it's supposed to be the first domino that once I'm taken down, then all the dominoes fall.
Well, it's also clickbait. There's also a thing, if you say Alex Jones, Sandy Hook, and you put in a title, a certain amount of people are just going to click on it. Alex Jones is still pushing a Sandy Hook conspiracy theories, one that I saw just 2 days ago.
Now that we know what Alex has gotten wrong, let's talk about what he got right. 4 years ago, the United States was a bit of a mess in a lot of ways. This isn't to say that most of those problems still aren't prevalent now, but the year as a whole was somewhat of a perfect storm. The presidential election was set to come to a head at the end of the year, with Trump and Hillary supporters as passionate and in some cases vicious as ever. An ideological divide within each political party was starting to really rear its head, fueled no doubt by the media coverage of the election and the mounting fear that the country is broken and needed to be fixed. On the right, white nationalists marched in Charlottesville and clashed with other demonstrators, prompting a major police presence as well as a mainstreaming of terms like alt-right. On the left, socialism became much more mainstream, with candidates like AOC and Bernie Sanders, and Antifa clashed on the streets against MAGA supporters, the far right, and police, with right-wing speakers having rioters follow them to nearly every college campus. The country looked more like 1930s Europe than anything that the United States had been exposed to in decades. Infowar was at one of its heights of popularity, with the election providing Alex with plenty of opportunities to create interesting content for his viewers and give his opinions on the current state of affairs, with him mostly targeting the Democratic Party and candidates like Hillary Clinton. One of the biggest events in the conspiracy theory world happened during this somewhat toxic political climate, and became as popular as it did because of this pressure cooker that the country was in at the time. In March of 2016, the emails of campaign manager for Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, were released by WikiLeaks. Combing through these emails appeared to be many references to a child trafficking ring where children were being exchanged for money by people in power. The name Pizzagate comes from the belief that references to pizza in these emails were actually code words used to discuss these children that were being sold. A number of people on the right, including Mike Cernovich, Brittany Pettibone, and of course Alex Jones, promoted the conspiracy.
You want us to cover Pizzagate? We have covered it, we are covering it, and all I know is God help us, we're in the hands of pure evil.
Alex ended up largely taking the fall for the situation once the Pizzagate theory was supposedly debunked. Doing a quick search for the term on Google today will bring you to pages where it is claimed to be fake news, and most say that there is no validity to the theory. The Pizzagate Wikipedia page reads as follows. Pizzagate is a debunked conspiracy theory that went viral during the 2016 United States presidential election. It has been extensively discredited by a wide range of organizations, including the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia. Most in the public saw the conspiracy as nothing more than that, a theory, which many thought had been completely proven false. The way that a number of people found out about this was from American talk show hosts painting those who believe it as crazy, while simultaneously doing a very poor job of addressing the actual arguments at hand.
And the craziest fake news of all is something called Pizzagate.
A Kelly File exclusive tonight on the conspiracy theory that came to be known as Pizzagate.
It's centered around Pizzagate, the debunked internet conspiracy theory.
I don't blame these people for not believing. I don't think that anyone would want to. It seems somewhat far-fetched that politicians, who have the most to lose out of anyone really, would be involved in child trafficking and a massive ring of abuse. It seems ridiculous and far-fetched, and there definitely isn't any proof for such a thing taking place. Oh wait.
Billionaire businessman Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in New York Saturday on federal charges related to sex trafficking.
Jeffrey Epstein brought underage girls here to his sprawling Caribbean estate.
That such a high-profile inmate as Jeffrey Epstein was able to apparently take his own life weeks after attempting suicide.
Multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein.
We were underage. We were little girls.
Jeffrey Epstein, pictured with the prince.
Bill Clinton posing with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Over the past 6 months, Jeffrey Epstein has become one of the most talked about people in the world. The disgraced financier, who has been accused of more than 40 counts of sexual assault and has been subject of legal investigations for more than a decade, was arrested earlier this year on charges of trafficking minors in Florida and New York. Media coverage of the situation was rampant over the next few days, with leaks about the investigation and the situation as a whole being released to the public through the news media. Reports of his connections with some of the wealthiest people across the globe, a private island he owned where parties were hosted with people like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, dozens of young girls who were victims, some as young as 13 years old. It was one of the largest scandals of the past few years, and one that no doubt will be remembered for decades to come. Just 4 days after his arrest, Epstein was found dead in his cell. The official story is that he committed suicide, but well, we all know what most people think of that one. Google consistently ranks him as an extremely relevant search term, and as updates keep rolling in, things look more and more grim and suspicious. Missing security camera footage from his cell, guards that can't seem to corroborate what did or didn't happen, and autopsy reports that are consistent with everything but the official story, raising questions about whether or not the government can even be trusted to carry out prosecuting people like this. Things just don't seem to add up, and the story has captured the interest of people across the globe. The knowledge that a number of people in power have been involved in a child trafficking ring, led by a guy that seems to know everyone who ever was anyone, is just now commonly accepted by a large portion of the American public. And when the guy who had been promoting the conspiracy theory for years and years ended up being right, nobody bats an eye.
With people associated with the Clintons. Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire pedophile convicted with links to Bill Clinton, Kevin Spacey, Robert Maxwell, and Prince Andrew. And there's more coming up. The sex slave scandal that exposed pedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. We've got Laura Silsby, who works for did work for the Clinton Foundation, convicted of smuggling out children from Haiti. And that ties into all the news headlines we're seeing right now about all the missing kids in D.C. That's why people are so concerned.
Keep in mind that this clip is over 2 years old, far before the Epstein scandal became known to the public eye. Somehow, Alex is still the insane conspiracy theorist who only says things that are untrue for attention and never gets anything right. The mainstream media continues to mock him on a daily basis and give less than charitable reports on his actions. Simply doing a YouTube search for his term will give you an endless supply of clips from TV stations reporting on his theories and the drama that he has become known for.
That's what Infowars founder Alex Jones is saying caused him to believe events like the Sandy Hook massacre were staged.
Popular far-right radio show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Yeah, they've been followed, they've been videotaped. A man went to prison for threatening the death of those parents we just heard from.
Unbelievable. So much trauma, so much pain.
His listeners to investigate the case themselves. And one did, bringing a semi-automatic rifle to the shop and firing several rounds.
You want to talk about the media targeting Donald Trump? Have a look at their love of covering Alex. It seems that with every minor controversy, they're ready to fire up their cameras and accuse him of slander. Allegedly, of course, allegedly. They've also compared him to the president on a number of times, pointing out some similarities with their mannerisms and rhetoric. And to some extent, you can't exactly blame them. They're just doing their job and reporting what will get them the most attention. The same as Alex does. He certainly acts in a less than professional manner on a consistent basis, so it's not like none of the blame for him being lampooned time and time again can be placed on himself. But the point stands that when Alex is right, no one bats an eye. For years, Alex has been discussing how there are security tape recordings of those in power doing rather unsavory things with underage girls. Everyone simply wrote it off as the ramblings of a madman. Some of what Alex says may seem outlandish at first, but don't write it off completely just because the media tells you to. His words often bear much more truth than most would want you to think. A lot of people seem to think that Alex is nothing but a paranoid, rambling madman who thinks that everyone is out to get him, and that he believes this unjustifiably.
Some of us won't make it personally through this, but a lot of us are. And in the end, you are going to be brought to justice for all the kids you kidnapped for CPS, all you CPS workers, all you corrupt bureaucrats, all of you that have had your way with innocent children over and over again, who think your evil's invincible. You're not invincible, and God is going to deal with you. And you are cursed to hell.
I think for a decent amount of time, that was probably not a completely ridiculous explanation, especially to those who don't know much about Alex and haven't taken the time to look more into who he is and what he stands for. To be honest, I was more or less a detractor of Alex and saw him as exactly that, a lunatic. And I still think to this day that it is important to take what he says with a grain of salt, as you should probably do with any news source.
What the hell have we become? We just offer our children up to the system with the fluoride in the water and the GMO hurting them, and we let fat perverts grab them at the airport to train them for the pedophile government. And we've just got such a sick society.
But if there's one way to validate his opinion that people with money and power are trying to censor him, well, it's for exactly that to happen.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer. Every night, I can feel my leg.
During the summer of 2018, Alex was essentially wiped off of the face of the internet. Sure, the Infowars website is still up, but every major platform for video and audio hosting deleted all of his content within 24 hours of each other, no doubt cutting off a significant amount of revenue and preventing him from gathering new viewers. Now, Alex is pretty okay. His website receives a lot of traffic as is, and because of his notoriety, he has a big enough core fan base that he can make it on his own. But the precedent that's being set by Alex's termination is what should concern people. From the far right to the far left, and everywhere in between. Every post he had ever made, every video he had ever uploaded, every comment that people had ever left on those videos, all gone in the blink of an eye. He was effectively deplatformed. He was censored. One of the most common responses that I'll see to me and others pointing out Alex's censorship, or the censorship of others, is that Facebook and YouTube are private companies and that they can do what they want. On a legal technicality, you're right. All these companies are owned by private citizens. They are free to enforce all of their own rules and act according to however they want. However, if you're operating under the assumption that everything that is legal is also just, then you're already coming at the argument from a flawed perspective. And, from an ethical standpoint, I find what happened to Alex to be terrifying. Whether or not you like him or agree with what he has to say, what occurred here absolutely was a violation of free speech. These companies have a monopoly on the way that information is exchanged online. There are no alternatives to sites like YouTube or services like Spotify. I mean, sure, you can go to Vimeo or Dailymotion, but the audiences there aren't nearly comparable. You won't be able to reach even 1/100th of the people that you would on YouTube. A few companies, headed by a few people, control the way that we exchange information online. They control what information can be posted, which opinions can be accessed, and who can be heard. Alex is a voice for those who question authority, and for a lot of people, he is their source of news. Removing him from these platforms raises a number of questions. Alex was officially banned for hate speech, but what is hate speech? How can you label what Alex does as different from anyone else on the platform? Is it right to silence those who are controversial for the sake of simply saving face in the public eye? Was Alex censored because he was too controversial, or because what he was saying was right. I don't think it's insane to think that if Alex is promoting ideas that have some merit, then those in positions of power who stand to benefit from having him silenced would want him to shut up. This attitude that companies should be able to do whatever they want isn't going away anytime soon. Recently, 60 Minutes did a segment about YouTube and censorship, where they, being 60 Minutes, tried to advocate for the position that YouTube should take an ethical stance against the kind of content allowed on their site.
But the private sector is not legally beholden to the First Amendment. You're not operating under some freedom of speech mandate. You get to pick.
We do, but we think there's a lot of benefit from being able to hear from groups and underrepresented groups that otherwise we never would have heard from.
Wojcicki explained that videos are allowed as long as they don't cause harm, but her definition of harm can seem narrow.
When the message coming from the mainstream media is that censorship is okay as long as it's a private company doing it, then it should be obvious to most people that free speech has become a big concern in the past few years. And it has many worrying about whether or not Alex is just the start. No matter who you are, no matter what you say, you should not have your accounts deleted or have your opinions silenced. Removing one person sets the dangerous precedent that others can be removed. And if Alex can be deleted, then anyone can. I think one of the main criticisms that I will receive for this video is that I have gone too easy on Alex. Many will point to instances where he has acted insensitively to explain why he is a bad person, and many will also reference clips where he's acted pretty wacky. And I'm not denying that Alex is pretty nuts sometimes. It's one of the reasons why you should probably not take everything he says as fact. But to me, that's part of what makes him great. I think that whether or not you completely agree with what Alex has to say, there's a lot to respect about the guy. Sure, it's easy to just see him as a meme and act like he's a complete joke. Hell, I've done my fair share of Alex posting in a somewhat mocking way, and no one would blame you for that. I certainly don't. Alex conducts himself in a very odd manner pretty often. From his pretty corny ads for supplements like fish oil and products like Super Beta Prostate, him ripping his shirt off while live on the air, screaming at the top of his lungs like a lunatic, to harassing Senator Marco Rubio. There is absolutely no shortage of somewhat embarrassing clips of Alex, up to all of his tomfoolery. Alex didn't come from a family that was connected to the media. He didn't go to an Ivy League college. He didn't suck up to anyone at some large company to get where he is now. He started on public access television and radio. When he was kicked off, he took to the internet and grew a bona fide media empire with the help of just a few other people. He created his own news network with professional studios, an entire team of staff, and millions of listeners, rivaling the largest news networks in the nation, and all without needing to be on network television. Some estimate that his show rakes in $20 million a year, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it was much higher than that. When he was kicked off of YouTube, Apple, and Facebook on the same day, he got inside of an armored car and drove to rallies with a megaphone, screaming about Jeffrey Epstein and Hillary Clinton. He's a testament to the power of the internet and its ability to allow anyone with a vision to grow an audience naturally, and go from being a member of the fringe to an advocate for them in the mainstream. And it's evident that he and his associates are here to stay, for better or for worse. The man is a king, if ever there was one. This is Alex Jones. This is the Infowar.
You're not an intellectual. You're a fake and a fraud.
Alrighty, wow, it's finally done. This video has taken a very long time to make, so firstly, allow me to thank all of you for watching it all the way to the end. In some ways, it has been, one of my favorite videos to make, and in some ways, it has definitely been my least favorite, but regardless, I hope that all of you enjoyed watching it. Be sure to check out my other videos if you like this one, and follow my friend who is not me, at ZapTieE on Twitter. I'll see you guys next time.